there. If you're wondering why I'm half in, half out of the sun, it's because you touch yourself at night. My porch just has these big, huge windows, and I just thought filming on the porch would be better because apparently filming anywhere inside my house is the devil. So I'm just gonna roll with it. We're gonna roll with it today. One very huge, important thing in my life that I love is books. I love to read, I love to talk about books, I love literature, and I'm a huge fan of several booktubers like Ariel Brissett, Katie Tastic, Little Book Owl. I love books. And when I was setting up my YouTube channel, I considered briefly whether or not I wanted to be a full-blown booktuber. But to be completely honest, I don't think I read enough, like I read fast enough to make my whole channel booktubing, because I just wouldn't be cranking out videos fast enough. I just don't. I read consistently, like I read a lot, but I read slowly. I like to slowly digest my books. I figured since 2015 had just ended, it would be appropriate to talk about all the books that I read in that year. So I'm going to go through the 21 books that I read in 2015. Nice number for me. I'm excited, and here we go. No, Goodreads, you son of a bitch. The first book that I read this year was Horns by Joe Hill. So I decided to give Horns a try early 2015 because I knew that a movie with Daniel Radcliffe in it was coming out about that book, and I like looking at Daniel Radcliffe's face, and there was gonna be horns coming out of Daniel Radcliffe's face, so I just thought that this all would be a concoction for a good time. Unfortunately, this book did not live up to it. A brief premise of Horns, it is about a character named Ig, which we can talk about the stupidity of that name later if you want. He is charged with the murder of his ex-girlfriend, which he allegedly did not commit. A year later from the murder, while the trial's still going on, he starts to grow horns out of his head. Devil horns, like, hey, and people around him start telling him the worst possible impulses that they're thinking. It's basically like, you know how the devil supposedly knows all the evil things you're thinking? Well, people just blurt it out in front of him. So he's trying to use his gift to figure out who actually murdered his ex-girlfriend. That premise sounds pretty interesting, right? Somehow Joe Hill managed to make it not interesting. If you guys liked it, I don't know, but based on this book and based on the fact that I also didn't like the other graphic novels that I read, I think a year or two ago, I don't want to find any more of his books. I don't want to read Heart-Shaped Box or whatever else he's written. I wasn't impressed. The next book I read was The Purity Myth by Jessica Vilnetti, which you might have a hard time seeing because the cover's all black. There you go. Now this book is all about the purity myth, which is this very bogus idea that a lot of Westerners have that virginity, especially for girls, is somehow important. That you are somehow more or less pure before you have sex than you are after. I highly recommend it, especially if you're into just the stupid things that we do in our culture relating to sex ed. And it's dumb and stupid that we think the things we do, and this is one of the books that talks about that. Now I'm only partially put in the sun. The next book I read was a manga called In Clothes Called Fat by Mayoko Ano. If I'm butchering that name, I'm terribly sorry. It is about a young woman who is going through an eating disorder, and the people in her life that contribute to it, and sort of this person's interpretation of how an eating disorder got started and perpetuated. It is really interesting. It's kind of a different read. It's not really fun in the sense that it's like, oh, what am I gonna reread again? In Clothes Called Fat, but it does make you think, and I do think that it's worth checking out. Like, I think that it's one of those, I'm glad I read that kind of books, you know? I am still in the sun. Also this year, the second trade issue volume of The Rat Queens came out, and I read that. That was really fun. Oh my god. Basically, if you're into fantasy and badass bitches, it's basically, it's just so fun. It follows these fantasy assassin type characters. It has magic. It's very funny. It's just so good, and the art is just awesome. It's beautiful. It's just really fun, and I really have enjoyed everything that I read in Rat Queens, and I cannot wait to get my grubby little mitts on more from them. They're really, really fun, and I love it. Another book that I read this year was Outsider by Claire Delise. Now, this is a bit of a sad one for me, because if you don't know who Claire Delise is, she is a YouTuber who makes makeup tutorials, special effects tutorials, and art videos. She's just so talented visually. Like, she made the cover of this book herself, and it's so cool. So I was a big fan of her work. So when she announced that she was writing a book, I was excited, and I immediately pre-ordered it so I could support her, because I'm totally up for supporting artists and stuff. But here's the problem. It kinda sucks. How do I put this? This is her first book, and you can tell. I feel like there were a lot of things she put in there that she thought were gonna be cute and quirky, and that's not how they worked out. They kind of just didn't come across like that. It just wasn't a very put together book. Like, maybe if she had other, does she credit an editor? Let me see. I don't see one that she's credited. Maybe if she had someone to help her narrow down the story or something like that, it would have worked out better, or what have you. But it didn't really. I didn't enjoy it that much. I just think that it had a lot of flaws in it. Maybe Claire does have a good book in her, but this is not the book. This video has quickly turned into Emily tries to outmaneuver the sun. Wanna play? Another book I read was 172 Hours on the Moon. In recent years, NASA announced that they will not be funding any more trips to the moon. So I guess Joanne over here was inspired by that, and this book implies that there are reasons why we aren't going back to the moon, and those reasons are rather nefarious. It was really good and really creepy. I felt like this author really used the eerie, creepy space atmosphere very well, because space is scary, like space is terrifying. Y'all know about space? It's spooky. Read about it. A really fun read that I did this year was How to Fight Presidents by Daniel O'Brien, and anything with a group shot of fucked up presidents is probably bound to be fun. Daniel O'Brien is one of the writers and editors and I guess actors for the YouTube channel Cracked.com and everything like that. And I don't know, I think Cracked videos are kind of funny. I like the sort of satirical, knowledgeable thing, you know what I mean? And he mentioned in one of his videos that he wrote a book about presidents and how to fight them, and just by the title, it sounded funny. And it basically is just fun, weird facts about presidents. It's more of fun, interesting, like, party story facts about presidents. And I love that kind of shit. I love funny tall tales, and this book is full of them, so that was just my kind of delight. I gave up trying to move out of the sun on the chair, and now I am on the floor. We're gonna roll with it today, kids. We're rolling with it. Another really fun read that I recommend for everyone ever is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. Webcomic turned graphic novel about Nomona, who is a shapeshifter who decides to be a sidekick to a supervillain. It is just as fun as it sounds. It is funny, surprisingly heartwarming, it is adorable, and the art is so cute, and I just love everything about it. I want everyone to own a copy of this. More Nimona now in your life. You want it, you need it, you have to have it. I totally want Noelle Stevenson's Lumberjanes in my life. This is going to happen. Live the dream! I just read this book. It's really fun. Another book that I read that I think would help the world in general is If You Want to Write by Brenda Euland. I think that is. I think if you've picked up, I'm gonna butcher names here, people. We know this now. It is about writing, not necessarily how to write, as in like predicate, noun, subject, verb. Calvin Klein. It is about basically giving yourself permission to write, giving yourself permission to be creative. And I think that it's very important for people to remember that we're all creative and we all have stories to tell, and just don't feel like because you don't necessarily have a history of being creative or writing, that doesn't mean that you can't. And that's all about what this book's about. It's really cool, it's really fun, it's a small read, and if you want to improve your writing or get started writing, totally grab it, even though I can't pronounce the author's name. I'm sorry, I'm a dick. I also read Johnny, the Homicidal Maniac Director's Cut by Joan Vasquez. See, I had heard but never read Johnny, the Homicidal Maniac, but I love another work of Joan Vasquez's, which if you think that name sounds familiar, it's because he helped write a little gem called Invader Zim. I love Invader Zim. I'm a huge fan, always have been, always will be, taking that shit to my grave. But I just never picked up Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. I wasn't really a presence on the interwebs when I think it was a internet comic first. And so when I saw that they had like a director's cut graphic novel of it, I was like, sure, I should read that because I like to read things by people whose other stuff I like. That sounds like perfect sense, and this is 100% how I talk. Accurate. I can't say anything other than it left me with no impact. I'm not the type of person who thinks that fucked up imagery is fun because it's fucked up. And I felt like that was all that book really was. Like, I didn't get anything else out of it. Sorry. A graphic novel that I did read and I had some fun with was Barbarian Lord by Matt Smith. It's basically a Norse myth, not a particular Norse myth, like about Thor or anything, but you know how in mythology, like, a story will be like, oh, he set off to do this, but on the way this happened, and he ended up punching a giant snake. And then he stopped for beer, and when he stopped for beer, this guy dropped ale on his boot, and he was like, not on my boot, and he killed him, but then he had to go avenge the death that was on his head. Yeah, that's basically what this is. I'm not saying comparing it to a myth as a negative. I like myths, and that's basically what this is, and it's got some really interesting art. It's funny looking. It is definitely worth the read. It has smart ass ravens. It's got witches. I definitely think that it's a fun time. I enjoyed myself. So yeah. Another book that I read that came out was The Fifth Saga. It is sci-fi, romance, action, adventure, Calvin Klein. Like, it is just a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it. It is super duper cool, sexy, awesome, hot. Look it up, read it, love it. It's just so much fun. Like, I can't contain my love for Saga. Now, another book I read this year that I didn't have a lot of fun with was Damned by Chuck Palahniuk. You may remember Chuck Palahniuk as the dude who wrote Fight Club. It is about a 10-year-old girl who goes to hell, and the synopsis described it as Breakfast Club in Hell, which I would love something like that. That sounds like exactly what I should be into. So I got it hoping to read like a funny satirical book about like a teenager in hell or something. And I was just bored. I was bored the whole time, just did not like it. Just nope. What is it with this year and books about the devil that ended up disappointing me? Is God trying to tell me something? God, are you there? It's me, Emily. Can I have a fun book about the devil? Is that okay? I also read Pirates by Cecilia Reese. It is about a young girl who becomes friends with a slave and they escape. She escapes an arranged marriage and her slave friend escapes slavery, which sucks, and they become pirates. And I don't know, that premise sounds like it would be right up my creepy little alley, but it just, I felt like these were characters more along the lines of what people would like to be as opposed to how people actually are. More action movie characters than actual characters. So yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's a fun read. I probably feel like I would have been all about it if I was 11 or 12, but being, you know, in my early 20s, it was okay. I also read Wonder Woman Volume 1, Blood by Brian Alonzo. I was trying to just get into Wonder Woman and I heard that like the new 52 run was pretty good. Did I not get the right one? Internet, tell me. But because, meh, it just didn't do it for me. I thought that I'd be like, oh, Wonder Woman, badass Wonder Woman. I mean, I still like the character of Wonder Woman and I've liked other like novelty things with Wonder Woman in it. But I thought this was like the actual run of Wonder Woman and I don't know, did I not give it enough of a chance or something? Because I didn't think that this book was that good. If people who read this would assure me that maybe the series picks up, I might give it another go. But as it stands, I might want to find other titles with Wonder Woman in it. This wasn't the thing that was like, Wonder Woman! To me, so. And I listened to the first 3 books of the Ice and Fire series, otherwise known as the Game of Thrones series, on audiobook. The reason why I haven't gotten to the 4th one yet was just because of A, time, and B, dude, it is just a fat ass series. Like, with no spoilers, it's just so heavy. I mean, even if you do or don't watch the show, you get the idea that there's just all these plots going at once. There's all these people. There's fucking magic and dragons. There's just so much to pay attention to, and that it takes up space in your insane in the membrane. And just sometimes you gotta sit down. That's not saying that they're bad. It's just that you can't eat Thanksgiving dinner every night. You need a break or your stomach's gonna burst. My brain stomach was gonna burst. So I've kind of taken away from a little while. And, but one thing that I will tell you is Joffrey is a dick sandwich. Like, books, show, whoever you are, Joffrey, sandwich, made of dicks. If you meet anyone who says that their favorite character is Joffrey, do not be friends with them. They are not your friend. You run and you save yourself. Now, there was this one graphic novel that I read recently that fucked my entire brain up. Like, I literally was texting my next friend going like, oh my god, like, I read this book and it made me, and that was The Beautiful Darkness by, okay, fuck, Falbin Valhallen and Kurbaska. Okay, I couldn't pronounce the other names. What? I can't. I'm sorry. Like, if I'm being offensive, I heartily apologize, but babies, I can't do it. This book fucked me up. They call it in the back of the book a bleak allegory about surviving the human experience. I don't know if that's what I got, but it's bleak all right. It's basically about people who are just very tiny. They're tiny people, like think Thumbelina size. Like, they're very tiny, and they're basically surviving out in the wild being tiny. And a lot of horrible, horrible, horrible things happen to everyone. But I really don't know whether or not I would think of this book as really genius or pure shit. I don't know whether it's some kind of Lord of the Flies level examination into chaos or a dark parade of horrors. And I just don't know. Maybe this is a type of book that when everyone reads it, they have their own response, and depending on the type of person you are, you'll see, like, two people will read it and not read the same book, which I guess is the sign of a quality book. But, like, what did I see? Madness. Not Sparta, just madness. Just complete and utter, like, this book, just damn. Damn, that's my official review. Damn. And the last book that I read this year, I know this has been a long video, but it's a whole year of reading, is All I Know Now by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I was covering Carrie's face, I'm sorry, Carrie. Carrie Hope Fletcher, you probably already know, she's a popular YouTuber, and she had a blog called All I Know Now, where she decided to write more of an advice column for young teens. Basically just ramblings and advice about her own life experience. And as you know, there's been a brush in recent years, like a fad, I guess, of YouTubers getting their own books. So a publisher went up and was like, hey, you want this to be a book because you're kind of popular, your blog's popular, like, let's put popular things together, like a book. I think that this book is really charming and really cute. I definitely think I would appreciate this more if I had read it when I was a teenager. But like I said with Outsider, I was a fan of her on YouTube, so I got the book so that way I could support her, because you should support the artists that you like. You should, if someone comes out with something and you have the opportunity to get it, because that means that you are helping them. I keep pointing to the picture because she's right there. So, like, I want Carrie to succeed, so I got her book. I highly recommend, if you're watching this and you are in middle school or high school, totally great advice. So if you're into her stuff, and you'll probably definitely like this book. So those are all the books that I've read in 2015. This is probably a really long video. I'm sorry if people aren't a fan of those, but like I said, it was an entire year's worth of books. I probably will end up maybe doing this again at the end of 2016. It's weird to think of New Year's, and I wish everyone a happy year of reading. I will probably be recommending more books all the time because I love books, and books, and I will see you guys soon. Please like if you liked it, subscribe if that's your thing, and send this video to everyone like the plague. Now I'm gonna be like done getting in and out of the sun like no, wait. I'm a supervillain.